very quickly, just to summarize, I mean, today lumabas yung survey nyo that people wanted to assert that our government should fight for our sovereignty, should push the
Yes.
arbitral ruling, use it to our advantage. Malacanang said, no, Beijing remains a very important friend. We will double down on our ties with Beijing. And then in Washington comes out with a position paper, very strong position, basically saying that the U.S. will stand by Southeast Asian nations in asserting their. Where does that put Malacanang right now, or did we already hear it? Do you think that's the end of what Malacanang is going to say about this?
I think they were not expecting the strong statement on a different issue that after 4 years of our arbitral victory, here comes the U.S. coming out with a stronger statement than they have had for the past 4 years. And we all know that Malacanang for the past 4 years have argued that not only the U.S. but the Philippines seems to be orphaned on this issue, which is not true. No? At the time that we filed this case, we have never been orphaned until we won the victory. It's actually our own government that has orphaned us in this case. And it took some of our neighbors to stand up on it, Vietnam, this year, Indonesia. Then, and you'll be surprised that groups like Japan and Korea are making stronger stands also. So this is beyond really U.S.-China issue. This has become a regional issue on the need for a rule-based international system. The only problem is, will our government listen to this? Our own
but precisely that's precisely my question. I mean, people are reading into the Washington statement what Mike Pompeo said as something to put pressure on China, but does it in fact have the ultimate effect of building more pressure on the Philippine government?
You hope it does, and our own Department of Foreign Affairs Secretary issued a surprise strong statement last Sunday. And he got rebuked also by the Chinese embassy. But it just shows how undiplomatic also the embassy is to rebuke your own foreign affairs secretary, but then you get your own spokesperson of the government as if it's just a non-issue. I mean, so it's quite sad. But imagine 4 years after our arbitral victory, 7 out of 10 Filipinos continue to believe that we need to assert our rights. 4 years. So it's in the consciousness. And this is abroad. This is not referring to the intellectual crowd. The survey is broken down into geographical, it's nationwide. It's broken down into socio-demographics. Majority are D&E that represented the respondents. But one thing that we wanted to emphasize also, it's something that for the first time we asked, is maybe it's time for the Philippines to look at strategic alliances, because we really wanted this to be part of our international conference this morning. Strategic partners. Because we don't like to be brought into this narrative of China that those who are against China are simply tools of the U.S. No, this is not. This is a regional issue, and this will continue to be a regional issue to the point that exactly on this day, even the United Kingdom has mentioned or shared that part of their engagement in Southeast Asia is to position one of their U.S. aircraft carrier. So you see some actions by countries that believe that there are aggression by a certain neighbor of ours, and we are in the middle of it. But it's good that's why we felt maybe it's good to ask, again, the Filipino public. Because government, we believe, should represent the Filipino public.
How sustainable do you think is the stronger position of the Trump administration, given that this may have also just been for optics heading into the November elections into the United States? They need to portray a stronger stance and try to portray Joe Biden as weak.
If you understand the supporters of President Trump, do you think they know where South China Sea is? So this is not. And if you will understand the defense and the state or the diplomatic circles of the U.S., both this is a bipartisan issue.
Okay.
This is a bipartisan. The only difference was that Obama or President Obama was more philosophical about this. They believe that China would be a good citizen of the world. But the past 4 years have told us that they will not. They will become more aggressive, even at the height of COVID. So even Biden, who is being placed in a position that he served the Obama administration, will now be forced to take a stronger stand. And some of the actions of the government now of the U.S. is actually based on decisions also of both houses of Congress. And
Right.
half of it is controlled by the Democrats. But again, we don't like this to be an issue of U.S. and China. That's why we
Yeah.
said to internationalize it. We forgot that Australia, whose economy is based on China, is making a strong stand.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
would have heard of before the pandemic Taiwan, a smaller country than us, saying
Yeah. Na
we're
lumalaban,
not part
ano?
of China.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the campaign line of the president of Taiwan was, "We will never be part of China." Or Malaysia 2 years ago,
Yeah.
the coalition was
Right.
built around. So there is this growing support. So we get to be left behind because we seem to be, sad to say, do you know to whom we are identified with these past 4 years? We are
China.
part of the bloc of Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar.
Mm.
I used to think we were part of the stronger bloc of Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam.
Singapore.
So these things, Singapore. So it's quite frustrating. But again, these studies are things that
Yeah.
guide policymakers, and we just hope that this kind of studies enlighten our policymakers. But if not, enlighten all of us, that we know where the
Yeah.
general public is. And again, our secret to this is we like to do it with Social Weather Station, or a year ago with or 2 years ago with Pulse Asia, for the simple reason these are the same survey firms that says that the president is popular, so they cannot question the credibility of the surveys.
Yeah. Right.
So these are the same constituency of the president telling him that,
Yeah.
sir, 7 out of 10 of your supporters might
Yeah.
like you to go a different path. And I'm hoping that this becomes really a national debate that will lead to a national discussion. It might be
Yes.
frustrating getting old with it. Imagine 4 years old already.
Yeah.
But you don't give up on this issue. It's about the territorial integrity and the maritime rights of the Filipinos who won it in international community, who has the support of the international community, except our own government.